didn't qualify. Apparently I'm, what is it, volatile, self-obsessed, and don't play well with others.
I'm so excited about this next series. One, mainly because, well, really the biggest reason is that I'm a nerd. And I'm a nerd on the inside, and sometimes on the outside. And I don't read comics, I'm going to be honest with you. Not because I don't think that's cool, it's just I don't read. So even in short little sentences. But I love comics, I love Marvel specifically. A couple weeks ago I was thinking about the new movie coming out, which is it's coming out this next weekend, I do believe. And I was like, there's a lot of that's cool things. I'd love to be a part of the Avengers. And I guess if I had to be one, I could be like, Hawkeye, I guess, because I have no real special abilities like that. But I got to thinking about the main characters. I got to thinking about, man, what do I have in common with them? And then some ideas came to me. So I was like, you know what? There's going to be 4 major characters we're gonna really focus on. I don't know if you can guess which ones. Okay, maybe those 4. We're gonna focus on 2 of them today. All right, so we're gonna hit up and believe it or not, each of you has something in common with the Avengers. Each of us actually has a lot in common with them, surprisingly. Okay, so we're gonna kick this off. We're gonna talk about the Hulk. All right, so we'll go to our next one. So just how many of you are not like superhero or Marvel people? You're just like, it's okay. Don't be ashamed. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So for you, and just for the enjoyment of the rest of us, we're going to give kind of a brief summary of our hero here, that we're talking about. The Hulk. All right, the Hulk's original name, all right, his original name is Bruce Banner, and it's still his name, even when he's the Hulk. But basically, he was a nuclear physicist. All right, so he worked with gamma rays specifically. Now we're talking about something that's not real. This is within comics, but I'm going to explain to you as if it was real, or if I wished it would be real. Right? No. So what happens is that this really smart dude is working with gamma rays, and there's an accident because there's always an accident in an origin story, and in this accident he gets overexposed with gamma rays. And this exposure should have killed him, but it didn't. Instead, it turns him into this big, giant, green rage monster. All right? And basically how it works is that whenever he gets angry, whenever Bruce Banner, normal guy Bruce Banner gets angry, he loses control. He turns into this big, green, ripped out dude, and he destroys stuff. And evidently loses the ability to have really long conversations. Everything's like Hulk smash, and then it repeat, right? So this is Bruce Banner, all right? This is him. It's kind of interesting because if you think about his character, and again, like it was real, just go with me here. He was supposed to die from what happened to him. All right? He was supposed to not be living anymore because he was hit with so much gamma radiation. But turning into the other guy saved his life. Okay? Now some of you are like, okay, I'm not really feeling how am I like this? The Hulk has an incredible gift. His incredible ability. Whenever he turns into the big green rage monster, he's super strong. He's pretty invulnerable. He can, destroy stuff. He can do a lot of good. But you know what? He can do a lot of harm as well. He can do it on both sides. Now, here's the correlation between you and the Hulk, is that you are actually, whether you believe it or not, are gifted. God has given you gifts and abilities. He's given you things that you can do well, that you can do supernaturally well. And what do I mean by supernaturally? I mean that it is a God-given ability. There's something that you have that other people don't. All right? It may be something some of you are like, man, I really don't turn into a rage monster. What are we talking about? Some of you have an amazing ability to be able to speak. And not like speak like, hey, how are you doing? I'm doing great. But some of you have a great ability to when you get up in front of a crowd, that you're able just to talk freely. You don't stumble over your words. You're able to communicate thoughts really well. And that is a great gift. Some of you are really good at math. And you have the ability just to make these computations really fast. And it makes sense to you. That used to be me, but if you stop using it, you lose it. So I'm not that way anymore. But there's some of you who are really good at that. There's some of you who just have a really good memory. Like you have an ability, not brain ability, but you have this ability to, you know what? I remember that so-and-so said this, last year at this time, he said, da-da-da-da-da. And that's like a supernatural ability. That's something that God has gifted you with. And the truth is that every one of us have something that God has gifted us. Some of us, we have a couple of gifts. Some of us have, that one important gift. Some of us have gifts that elevate us to positions like where I'm standing. And you talk in front of people. Other of us have gifts that no one will ever see because they're not out front their gift. But here's the deal with your gift. Whatever it may be, it can be used for good, or it can be used for evil. Right? And I know that's like, wow, that is very comic book style, but it's very true. For example, if you are great at convincing people, how many of you feel like you're good at convincing people, right? Yeah, raise your hand, Lauren, you're fine with that. All right, so it's like, there's some of you who are like, I just know how to appeal to a crowd. I know how to some of you are like, no, I hate crowds. But for those of you who do, who are really good with that, God has given you that gift for a reason. So what you can take that gift and you can be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to use this gift to be able to help people make wise decisions. I'm going to use this gift, there's some people who are going to go and do this particular thing or go to this location for a party or go do that. And you have the ability to be like, that's probably not a wise thing. And you can talk them down and make a bad decision. But in the same light, the same power that you have to help people make good decisions, you also have the same way to make people make bad decisions. Be like, hey, I really want to go do this, and it's probably not the best idea, but I'll get a couple people to go with me. So, hey, I'll talk to you about it. I'll convince you. And you're using this gift that you have, and we'll just flat out say it, for evil, not for God, right? It could be in many things. We're going to talk about a guy named Peter, okay? How many of you have ever heard Peter from the Bible, right? He's a pretty popular guy. If you don't know who he is, he was one of the 12 disciples. Okay, and he was actually probably the most boisterous of the 12 disciples. In fact, throughout Scripture, all the time, he is, just piping up what he thinks is right. He's doing it all the time. But he has some great gifts. I want to tell you some of his. Some of his were like charisma. That is a gift. You ever met someone who's like, they're just excited about whatever they're doing? That is a gift because all of us don't have that, right? Some of us, it takes convincing to get excited about anything, like getting up in the morning. This is what, right? No, he had charisma, all right? He was a good speaker, all right? He had no problem getting in front of people. He was quick to act, all right? He did not wait around for if something was on the fire. He's getting at it right now, all right? And he was a strong leader. These are all gifts that he had, okay? Now, in these gifts, they can be used for good. They can be used for evil. Now, a lot of times, he would pipe up and say stuff, but I want to focus on one specific time. When Jesus was he was nearing the end of his life. All right, they have the time whenever Judas has betrayed them, and he's about to be taken prisoner. All right, so they're in this garden, they're praying. The whole posse's there. And then Judas comes in. They got some Roman soldiers. They got the soldiers with the priests. And they come in. and they're going to take Jesus. So quick to act, charisma, strong-willed Peter is like, they're coming to take Jesus. Where's the sword? And he starts looking around. Now they had one sword. They had a sword. And they, of 12 guys, they have one. So I don't know if they like just used it to cut bushes down or something. I don't know. But he's like, where's the sword? And he gets the sword, and he tries to cut a guy's head off. Now Peter is not very good at swordsmanship, so all he ends up doing is cutting this guy's ears off. All right, Peter, who has great charisma, he has all this. He's quick to act. He's strong-headed. He's a strong leader. Takes his gifts and he uses them for the wrong purposes. He doesn't use them for God. Just in case you haven't heard that story before, you can feel rest assured, because after he cut it off, Jesus put the ear back on, because Jesus is cool like that, right? And so Peter has the same thing. Now, what's the real issue we're dealing with? With our gifts and our abilities? We're going to go to our verse. Our first verse here is 2 Timothy 1:7 that says this. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Some versions say self-control. With our gift, we have to learn to practice self-control. What's the Hulk's biggest problem? He lacks self-control, right? As soon as he gets angry, he turns green, and he gets big and he loses all control. There's a lot of us that are like that. Because we lack self-control, whenever something hits us unexpectedly, we react in a way that is not of God. For example, if we were looking at examples in our own life, or like examples in my life, I can think of many times I'm fairly quick-witted. I wouldn't say, as some of you, I wouldn't say it's my biggest spiritual gift, quick-wittedness. Some of you are really good at it. But sarcasm comes strong in my family. We have a strong sense of purpose when we're throwing out some sarcasm. All right? And yeah, some of you are like, amen, brother, I can feel it, right? But this is something that we deal with. Whenever I was younger, it got me in trouble a little bit. Because someone would say something or do something that deserved sarcasm, and I just like throw it out there. They're like, oh, you think it's going to rain today? And you look out and it's like, it's already raining. It's like, nope, I don't think so. And that's not even good. See, I'm not super good at it, but it's just like that self-control was lacking. So take a minute. I want you to think about, what is a gift that you have? Maybe your gift is in computers. Maybe your gift is that you're a great friend. Maybe your gift is that you're trustworthy and people like to talk to you. If that's your gift, a lot of times, if you're not careful with your self-control, you'll let that gossip bug get in you. Someone just confided in me, and then someone else is talking to me, and you're like, ooh, man, that person that you're talking about with that specific detail, yeah, they have a lot more other specific details that are like this and that, right? And then you just kind of spill it because you're not doing the self-control. Us, like the Hulk, we have to work on our self-control. How many of you saw the first Avengers movie? All right. Now, if you're a nerd, there was this point in the movie that you were just like, yes. Even if you were a girl, you're just like, yes. It was this point where they're battling. It's actually just before you have that little circular scene that we have in the preview. And Bruce Banner rides up on like a little moped, which I had as a kid. Don't judge me. He rides up and he's Bruce Banner. He's not the Hulk, and they're fighting all these things. And they're like, hey, dude, you need to suit up. Because, and they look at him and they go, you better get angry. And there's this point, I'm getting chills. Why am I getting chills? Because I'm a nerd. And he's walking, right? And he's walking away, and they're like the big giant alien things, like, coming in. And he looks up and he's like, you better get angry. And he said, well, that's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry. And he's like, and then he like punches the thing, and you're just like, yeah, right? It's very convenient. He got self-control at the very end of the movie, but whatever. I don't care, because I just wanted it to happen that way. And it's because self-control, he was able to control what he needed to. To be able, and I know you're like, wow, you're reaching, Jack. I am. Get off me. I really like the Avengers. But that's what it is for us. We can do great and powerful things with our gifts if we have self-control. If we focus on God when we're using them and we go, okay, you know what? I'm going to use this, as corny as it sounds, for good and not for evil. I'm going to use this to forward the name of Christ and not the name of Jack. Or insert your own name there, right? Not going to do it. So that's how we are like Thor, okay? I mean, not Thor. That's how we're like, spoiler alert, who we're about to talk about. That's how we're like the Hulk. But then there's a second one that we're going to talk about today. And it's Thor, okay? We'll put the Thor picture up here. All right. So, Thor, all right? He's from Asgard. He's an Asgardian. You're like, what's an Asgardian? It's another planet that's made up. Go along with it, okay? He's from, it's real. Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil somebody. No, he's from this other planet, okay? And he's Chris Hemsworth in the Avengers, right? Yeah, Chris Hemsworth? Yeah. All right. Wow, okay. Awkward moment up here. So he comes in, we have Thor, he's from another planet. He is the god of thunder here on Earth from legend, but it's actually, he's just been living on this other planet. He gets to come down every now and then. I'm not going to bore you with the minutia of how that happens. But he comes in, all right? He is a really strong guy, and the main thing that you know about him is he wields Thor's hammer, which is called, I mean, who can tell me? Say it.
Mjolnir.
There you go. Say it louder.
Mjolnir.
That's right, Mjolnir. It's like the redneck planet of the galaxy. Mjolnir, that's what it is. No, we'll call it Thor's hammer for everyone else, okay? So, that's what he has. This is his tool. You know, he has this awesome weapon. He can throw it. He can like go, and it'll come to him and like shing right there back. And there's something else about the hammer you need to know is that the hammer, you can only pick it up if you're worthy. Only if you're worthy. You're laughing at my nerdness. If you, no one else can pick it up, right? It's this hammer. If you're worthy. If you saw the Thor movie, he wasn't worthy for half of the film. That was it. Spoiler alert. He gets it back. Anyway, so he has this tool. He has a hammer. All right. Now with this hammer, he does some awesome things. If you've seen the movie, it's just really cool. This guy, you wouldn't think a guy running around with a hammer is pretty awesome, but it is. It's pretty sweet. All right. He can actually do this little thing where he can take it and he like spins it around, and I guess he throws it, but holds on to it, and his body flies with it. I don't really understand it, but he can do it. Right. The other thing he can do is he also has control of power of lightning, which makes no sense, but we go with it because we go with it. And so he has this tool, but really, Thor basically when we think Thor, we think about the hammer. Now, you actually can relate to Thor pretty well. All right? Yeah, because you're from Asgard. No, you can relate to Thor pretty well because each of us have tools that we have been given. You may be thinking, I have a hammer, but it's only for doing nails, and it's not magical. But no, we all have different things that are outside of our gifts that we have. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about like your material possessions. Your material possessions, right? I'm talking about physical things that you can touch. It may be, for some of you, it may be your wealth, your having money is something, it's a tool. It's something you have that you can use. For some of you, it may be like your car. All right? For some of you, it may be baseball glove. A baseball glove. I don't glove. Yeah, I need some water or something. I'm going to dehydrate. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that you take a family trip every year. Now you may be going, Jack, what in the world are you talking about?
Yeah.
Exactly. What I'm saying is this. We have all got tools that are placed in our lives that God has given us so that we can use them to reach others. So we can use them to serve others. For example, for those of you who have a car, All right, I'm just going to go ahead and throw James out there because, whatever. James comes to basketball in the morning. So he's not the only one to do this, but just for my example. James has a truck. He has the ability to drive people. He has a car, that way he has a vehicle. He has a vehicle that he's able to drive people in. That is a tool. That he helps people who come to basketball who don't have any other way to get to school. They can't come unless James was bringing his truck to help get them to school. Now that is using a tool that God has given him to help serve others. For some of you, it may be your free time, maybe the tool that you have. Maybe you are blessed with the ability for you not to have a job. And for some of you, you're like, is that a blessing or not? And your parents may think not. But if you have that free time, you know what you may be able to do? You may be able to help someone who needs help in a class that you're good at. You may be able to go, you know what? I can help with the soup kitchen because I have time. For others of you, it may be because you have a computer or you have something along those lines. But you know what? Me and so-and-so will meet up because they have no means of being able to work on this project without a computer. They don't have one, I do. Maybe it's that you have a bunch of clothes and that, you know what? I can give away some of these clothes. I can make sure that someone else has something to wear through this tool that I have. Now, in the Bible, we're about to read a story, it's not too long, of a lady who was pretty important, who had a great tool that she could use to help the disciples. This is from Acts chapter 16, starting at verse 11. All right, just so you know, this is kind of, the book of Acts is kind of starting out what the early church was doing. Jesus has gone up to heaven. The Holy Spirit has already come down, and now they're spreading the word. They're spreading the word of God. We boarded a boat at Troas and sailed straight across to the island of Samothrace. And the next day, we landed in Neapolis. There we go. You know what? Shh. All right. Is there more up there? Nope, keep going. All right. From there, we reached Philippi, a major city that district of Macedonia and the Roman colony. And we stayed there several days. On the Sabbath, we went a little ways outside the city to a riverbank where we thought people would be meeting for prayer. And we sat down to speak with some of the women who had gathered there. One of them was Lydia from that place, a merchant of an expensive purple cloth who worshiped God. As she listened to us, the Lord opened her heart and she accepted what Paul was saying. She was baptized along with the other members of her household, and she asked us to be her guests. If you agree that I am a true believer in the Lord, she said, come and stay at my home. And she urged us until we agreed. So what happens here? They go to this place of all these names I mispronounced horribly, and they get there, and they meet up on the riverbank with these people who are praying. And they go, okay, we're going to go talk with them about Jesus. And there's this wealthy lady named Lydia there. So Lydia, who is a rich lady who sells purple cloth, comes to know Jesus. And in coming to know who Jesus is and believing in a risen Savior, she goes, you know what? I have a big house. I have a big house and you have no house. And I have a lot of food and you kind of aren't carrying very much. You know what? Why don't you come to my house? Why don't you come stay with me? Why don't you let me bless you? See, what Lydia realized was that she had a tool to use to serve someone else for God. She had something she could do. It wasn't a gift that she had. It wasn't that she was gifted with housemaking, so she made her own house and now she has a building. No, it's that she's been blessed with these items in her life, these material things that God says, you know what? Okay, now we're going to use them for me. So my question for you is, what tools do you have? What tools do you have in your life? It may be something as small as, you know what, you have extra paper that you keep with you whenever you're in class and someone's like, dude, I don't have any paper, you can be like, hey, I have some. Right? Everyone knows there's that person in the class who comes ill-prepared every day. Every day. Some days I was that guy, but not most of the time. All right? They come in and they don't have a pencil, paper. You're like, what? Do you even know where you are? You know, they come in and you know what? You can do what we just did, right? And be like, oh, so-and-so. You know, I can't believe them. They don't have paper again. Well, you know what they deserve? They deserve to sit there and look like an idiot because they don't bring paper. You know, we laugh, but there's times when we do that. You know, we can go, you know what? God has given me the means to where I can have an extra sheet of paper and buy a 50-cent pack of 5 pens and keep them in my bag. And you know what? Hey, man, I know you're not prepared today. Here you go. Have it. You got it. You know, maybe it's something else. Maybe you look and you go, you know what? You know, I go back to the clothes thing because most of us have so many clothes, it's ridiculous. Even me, who I only wear like 5 shirts. Have y'all noticed? Yeah, and as my weight fluctuates, I stay whatever shirt level I have of those shirts, I stay in them. Right? I'll probably wear my witness shirt tomorrow. And then, you know, the bright, the one that looks skin tone, y'all think I don't wear a shirt? Yeah. And that's how I work. I have a full thing of t-shirts. 5 drawers. 5 drawers. What am I mean, and this is a little come to Jesus moment for me. What am I doing with that? Now, granted, not all of them are the best t-shirts, but I bet you a lot of people could use those clothes. That's something that I've been given over the years. In fact, I dare say I probably bought maybe 2 shirts in this whole thing. I've been given shirts because I guess it's in ministry, that's what they do. You're like, hey, you come to an event, here's a shirt. Oh, it's ugly. It's ugly as sin. Oh, you use that in ministry? You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll take it because you never know. I might need a random polka-dotted gray shirt. And, you know what? Yeah, it is weird. I got rid of that one. But
Wait, you actually got some?
But there's some crazy shirts out there, man. But it was free. And it was college. Don't judge. But, you know, we look at it and go, okay, man, I have all this stuff. I can serve with this, what I have here. It may be, you know what? We have tools at my house to mow lawns. I hate mowing lawns. But you know what? My neighbor, who I know has been sick, their lawn is getting a little crazy. Maybe I go over and knock on the door and say, hey, you know what? I have a lawnmower. I have a weed eater. I have time. Can I help you out? You got the tools. You have them. We've been blessed with so much stuff. You know, it makes me laugh when you see like the little bumper stickers that say, God bless America. God has. You are so blessed. We have so much stuff. So many tools that God has said, here, I literally give you a house full of stuff that you can use to honor me. Now, Thor's hammer, going back to the real point, right? Thor's hammer has that thing that we talked about, has this conditional use. It really does. It has this conditional use that you can't use it if you suddenly become unworthy. What makes you unworthy of doing that? If you start, not fighting for the injustices in the world, if you start being dishonest, if you start using it for evil, then the hammer won't work for you. I kind of throw the same thing out to you about your stuff. There's a lot of people in the world who their tools are like, oh, my tools are wonderful, they're great, and they're mine. How much of your tools do you get to keep ultimately? None. You take none of that stuff with you. When you die, you may take a suit with you to the ground, but you don't take it anywhere else. And that's it. Our iPhones we're going to lose, our computers we're going to lose, our cars that we don't like because they're not cool enough, or our cars that we're like, oh, this is like the coolest thing ever. I look like Mac Daddy car guy. I don't know. I'm so hip on the cool lingo. All of that's going to go away. You're not going to have it for very long. So ultimately, if you're given these tools, then, why aren't we using them? If I were to give you a lawnmower and you had not cut grass, and you sat there and kept the lawnmower in the garage, and made sure it was pretty and it was, not messy, and it just looks pristine, and it fits perfectly in the space between the bike I don't ride and the leaf blower that never gets used. It looks great. What use is that lawnmower? In the Bible, there's a parable where this guy is the master of this land. Okay, he's going away on his trip, and he has these 3 servants. He goes, okay, my 3 servants. What we're going to do is calls the first one up. He says, okay, hey, I'm going to give you 15 talents. Okay, now talents back then is actually referring to money. All right, but I think it's cool because it talks about talents. We have talents. Anyway, so he gets like, I'm going to give you, we'll say $15 or $15 million. That sounds better. So he says, here's $15 million. All right, use it wisely. And he goes to the next servant. He says, hey, come on over here, guy. And the guy comes over and he's like, I'm going to give you $10 million. Here's your $10 million. Okay, and then he comes over and then he got the next guy and he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you $1 million. Just $1 million. That's all you're going to get, okay? Use it wisely. I'll be back. Okay? So he gives these things. He said, I'm going to come back. Either when he comes back, he's going to get it back. He's going to get his stuff back. So the guy with $10 million goes, you know what? I have $10 million. I can do some good. I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to invest it. I'm going to put it on some things so I can grow this this $15 million. And so then you have the guy in the middle is like, you know what? I have $10 million. That's a good amount. I'm going to put it in the bank. I'm going to save it. I'm going to make sure that it grows interest. I'm going to put it in some funds. We're going to grow this $10 million. We're going to make it more. And then the guy with the $1 million is like, ooh, $1 million. I don't want to lose it. $1 million. I really hate for that to go away. So he takes his $1 million and he digs a big hole because it's $1 million and puts it in the hole and he buries it. All right. I'm like, okay, where was that? I'm marking on my iPhone and he walks away. All right. So then the master of the house comes back. And he comes back and like, hey, servants, hey, get money. Come report in. So the first guy comes in. And the first guy's like, hey, you know what? You gave me $15 million. I got you $15 million more. Here you go, $30 million. Yeah, that's right. Okay, $30 million. Right? Math. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So he gets $30 million back, and the guy's like, you are a good and awesome servant. Here, I'm going to put you in charge of a whole bunch of stuff. Second guy comes back and goes, hey, you gave me $10 million. You know what? I made it $20 million. Here's your $20 million. He's like, oh, you good and awesome servant. I'm going to make sure to put you in charge of stuff. I'm going to put you ahead of this and ahead of that. Okay, awesome. And then the last servant comes up and he looks a little dirty because he's been digging up $1 million, right? And he comes up, he's got a handful of dirt-covered money and a shovel, I guess. And he's like, okay, hey, master, I know you were shrewd. I know you're a shrewd guy. I know you count every penny that you have. And so I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose any of your money. So here you go. Here is $1 million. Exactly. You can count it if you want. I just got done counting it. Right there. There's a worm on it. Sorry. But here's your $1 million. And the master looks at him and he's like, you wicked and lazy servants. Wicked and lazy. Because I gave you $1 million. You could at least put it in the bank and you would have got something back. But no, you buried it. You took my gift. You took my thing I gave you and you squandered it. Now most of us will look at that and he actually takes the guy and he says, throw him in jail, give the $1 million to the guy who has $30 million. Now most of us look at that story and we're like, what? He gave it back. Every cent was there. He wasn't given the $1 million. He wasn't given that just so he would sit on it. It wasn't given that so that he would bury it and never use it and never bring any good out of it. It was crazy that he would come up and we're like, what's wrong with this picture? It's the same picture of what God has given us. God has given us all these different blessings. Maybe it's the fact that you get to ride horses. I know some of you do that. Maybe it's the fact that some of you can go on trips. Maybe it's the fact that some of you play soccer, some of you play football, some of you play the flute. There's all these different things that God has given you and given you these tools to use for Him. If at the end of your life We'll use the flute example. Why not? If at the end of your life, and you're dead or whatever, and then you go up and God's like, okay, you can play the flute, what'd you do with it? You'd be like, man, I learned to play really good jazz flute, and I played in my bedroom with no one around for all of my life, and I got so good at it. No one really ever heard me, but man, I rock. God will be like, what a waste. I gave you that for a reason. Each of us have things that were given to us. We have, and right now, a lot of things are running through your mind. Anything you have that's a material possession is given to you so that you can ultimately use it for God's glory. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do with our stuff? What are we going to do with our gifts and our tools? With what God has blessed us with that we need to have self-control with? What God has given you? What are we going to do with it? Are we going to serve and use it for God, or are we going to use it for self? That's what I want to leave you with today. That's the challenge I want you to think. We're going to we'll close the song, I'm going to pray, and then the last song's going to come up and all that jazz. And I want you to think about, what has God blessed me with? What gifts do I have? What abilities do I have? What tools have I been given? And once God shows you that, I want you to ask yourself this question. How can I use it for His glory? How? My challenge for you this week is to identify your tools and your gifts and then use them. Use them to help others. Use them to show God's love. Use them to give God glory. Will you pray with me? Father God, you are awesome. You're amazing. You created the people who made up Thor and the Hulk, and that's so awesome, and we thank you for that. God, we thank you for the many tools that you've given us. The gifts. The abilities, God. You gave them to us for a reason. God, I pray that tonight that you just make it abundantly clear in our lives what you have blessed us with. I pray, God, that not only do you make that abundantly clear to us, but that we then take it and use it for you. We use our car that we have. We use that allowance we get. We use that extra clothes. We use that ability to sing. We use that ability to listen. Whatever it is, God, I pray that we see what you've given us. And then effectively we give it back to you. God, we love you, and we fight every day against ourselves with self-control. Against doing what we want to do compared to what you want us to do. God, I pray that you open our minds and hearts to follow you with all that we got. We love you. In your name, Lord Jesus, I pray. Amen.